Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sara Gonzales, joined by Beck, Stu Burguiere, and Mr. Andrew Heaton.
Hello.
One of the most interesting men I think I've ever met in my life.
I'm trying to get that Dos Equis commercial. That's my goal is to be the third guy.
Yes.
Notice how we got some second billing there. I'm going back to Stu Burguiere and Andrew Heaton.
You guys are regulars.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just like,
Oh, so
okay,
it's Norman
you guys.
Cliff to you.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Pretty much.
All right.
Glenn, what's your top story?
Top story. In this equation, I'm Kelsey Grammer. I just want to continue, please.
Kind of.
Are you Shelley Long or Kirstie Alley?
I'd like to be Kirstie Alley, I think.
Really? Because she ended up fat.
She did, but she didn't take Riduzone.
Okay, all right, good. Okay. So my top story today has got to be the celebration that we're all having over Bernie Sanders, who I believe is Scuttle from The Little Mermaid, running for president of the United States yet again.
All right, Stu?
I want to be on the Bernie Sanders train as well and talk about the meaning of the word independent.
Okay, are you on the Bernie Sanders train as well?
I am so deeply susceptible to peer pressure that when I saw the rundown, I was like, I'm going to talk about Bernie Sanders too. But in my case, I have a silver lining for what I think is good about Bernie Sanders.
You have a silver lining for literally everything.
I have to. It's the only way to get
Laugh
off.
so you don't cry,
Yeah.
I feel, these days.
Like I'm skating on an infinite abyss. There's just this much ice.
Got a lot to get into, obviously, but before we do that, want to thank our sponsor, Riduzone. As I was saying, Kirstie
Shelley
Alley.
Long and not Kirstie Alley.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Kirstie Alley in her prime.
Kirstie Alley at least did
hot.
something with it. She still made it work for her.
She
you know?
did.
She did. She made it work for her. Where's Shelley Long? Nowhere.
That's true.
She's alone at home with a cat in slippers.
Okay, we don't need to get the cat thing. There's nothing wrong with that.
Always cats there in those situations,
cats.
always.
There's nothing wrong
Washed
with
up
that.
star crying in her whiskey at 9 o'clock in the morning.
So Riduzone has nothing to do with Kirstie Alley or Shelley Long, but what it can do is help you lose weight. If you are kind of struggling with that, you've got like an extra 20 pounds that you just don't think that you can get off. Everything you try, you starve yourself, you eat lettuce, you drink celery juice or something. I don't know.
Kale, I heard of that.
I do love kale, but apparently most people
Fancy
don't.
spinach, not a fan.
Yeah. So if you're looking to maintain or lose the extra pounds, you just can't seem to get there, I suggest trying Riduzone. I use it religiously. It works for me like a charm. So it's the good stuff in olive oil that helps boost your metabolism, help you feel full, reduce your appetite, and see if it works for you. Go to Riduzone.com. Use promo code TheBlaze right now and get 30% off of a 3-month supply. $1.39 a day. You can't beat that. Let Riduzone help you with your weight loss. Riduzone.com.
My brother, and I've never told the story, he was overweight. He started the meth diet.
Oh.
He lost over a pound of...
What kind of method was it?
No meth, just...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he lost over a pound of teeth. Which,
That's great.
So if you're looking to lose teeth, try meth. If you're looking to use pounds, try Riduzone.
Shots fired at Shelley Long and his brother right out the gate. Left hook, right hook.
All right. So let me talk about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, what a great guy. At least he's an admitted socialist crazy. I mean, he looks like, I want to just say, do we have a picture of Bernie Sanders anywhere? Can we get a picture? Excuse my hair today. I've been wearing a hat all day. Okay.
So was he.
Now.
The soup is too hot. The soup is too hot.
Take a side-by-side of that and Andrew Heaton. That is what you're going to look like, Andrew.
Okay. Are you telling me I should buy a comb?
I'm just saying, there you go. Look it. Now do that with your mouth. Look like him. That's what you're going to look like.
I believe the most important thing is that we sell couches to the middle class. And that will be paid for by liquidizing rich people, which is what I propose to do. We will liquidate them. We will physically liquidate them.
You're going to turn them into liquid?
We will turn them into Soylent Green. And we will feed them to the poor people, and then there will be more money because money comes from the heavens. Rich people have bigger nets. They're evil. You need to give it back.
So you believe in God then?
Yeah, yes.
He does. All right. So his proposals are almost as crazy as the buying couches for people. If you want to look at his thing, first of all, Medicare for all. We know how well that's going to work. Green New Deal. $15 minimum wage. Criminal justice reform. We just passed one, but he says we got to go again. Free college for everybody. I love this. Break up the biggest banks. Now, I agree with the banks should not be as big as they are, but how are you going to do that? Gender pay equity.
I can't wait for that one.
Paid leave. Lower drug prices, my favorite. Progressives are always on the lowering of American drug prices because they're gouging us. Oh, because we're the wealthiest 1% of the world? They're gouging us? Right. So the poor and the rest of the world could have just a little bit of what the wealthiest 1%, even our homeless, are the wealthiest 1% in the entire world. So this is just a progressive idea that they're using, but they don't seem to like it when it happens to them. Expand Social Security, save the unions. I mean, who in the country besides the union leaders are like, oh, if I just had a presidential candidate that would promise he would save the unions? And, of course, the DREAM Act. Now, that's only page 1. He's got a whole nother page that goes along with it, but just that alone.
I bet you that's over $30 million in terms of federal spending.
I don't know if you should go that crazy.
Well, I also think it does show us how the progressives and how the Democrat Party has just how radical they've gotten in such a short amount of time, because he's been proposing Medicare for all for a long time, and nobody wanted it. And
nobody would sit at his table at lunch. Right. Every day he was by himself eating soup or whatever, quietly.
Everyone's platform now.
And it was an insult just a few years ago. If you were like, are you in favor of $15 minimum wage? They were like, absolutely not. Now, that is economic illiteracy, and how dare you paint me with that brush? Now everybody's $15 an hour minimum
or
wage.
more.
Yeah. Or more. Well, you know, what's crazy, I know you guys were busy preparing for the show, so you may not have seen it. Did you see the show I just did?
No.
Okay. You need to. Okay. I just did a half hour on the new Green Deal, and I think it was misdirection. I think what they did, usually, we were talking about this. Is this Overton window? Are they moving it so far to the left that Sweden begins to look like a paradise to us? We're like, okay, we'll be like Sweden. Okay? That's what I honestly thought might be the case until I read the actual bill that is now going into committee. When you read that, it's misdirection. The get rid of the airplanes and all that stuff, that's no big deal compared to what they're talking about in the actual bill. That is just a write-up, a summary of things, what we'd like to accomplish. But the bill is now going into committee, and it says the United States government, under the direction of this committee, will fundamentally transform the American economy not only to green, but also to environmental and
justice,
economic, social justice.
And I'm of the persuasion climate change is happening. We're contributing to it. There's even a role for government in it. And I've spent a substantial amount of time over the last few years going, no, this isn't a hoax. It's not an excuse to take over the government. That's a conspiracy theory. Yep. Where like they were like, actually, this is a great opportunity to make America socialist. I'm like, no, please, you're making my job way more difficult.
Have you read the bill?
You're talking about the resolution,
the actual resolution
by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Yeah, I read through that, and I read through.
No, not the one by Cortez.
Oh no, I've only read the Cortez bill.
Okay,
the resolution.
I think that is the same bill. So there was a bill, and which
not the talking points.
There's
the FAQ and there's the bill. Yeah,
the bill. The bill is super clear. It is 100% government control, with deference to the unions in their leadership.
A lot of stuff about like family farming and organic farming, and a lot about Native American restitution.
But it is all about really, truly 100% control of the economic engine in all categories. It is the end of the Republic and the Constitution if that would pass. You would be over as America, and they're serious about it. And I had this theory that I presented on TV today that Ocasio-Cortez is just a little clown. The real thing is not the cow farts, which they let her put this out, and everybody mocked her. Somebody behind the scenes who is like, this is our chance for real socialism. We're going to change this. We're going to cut the strings of the free market. We're going to cut it. Let her go out there. Let her do that. She entertained us, and she was fodder for the picking. And back here, they're putting the real stuff in the bill that actually means something. And I don't think they care about global warming. Because I really don't.
It should be called the Great Leap Forward something solar power.
5-year plan.
It's like this, you can tell they're like also wind, but mostly we run the economy.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the FAQ was kind of written like it was a 15-year-old dunce.
That was that. An intern did that on his or her lunch break for sure. That was
it also was reviewed and published on their website.
Oh, yeah. They retracted it. They were like, oh, it wasn't meant for public consumption.
But that says to me that's the misdirection.
Yeah.
Because if you read that's a high school group coming together. This is not. Yeah. This is serious. I mean, I'm going to say it. It's communism. It is truly communism. It is state-controlled economy and grand master planning.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It went really far, really fast, and a lot of it. I mean, I like your description of it, something solar panels, because it's really what it is. It's kind of the green thing, and they said this in the FAQ as well. This is FDR's New Deal plus green. It's not just Green New Deal. It's the FDR New Deal plus green, which covers all of that, and we know costs at a minimum $32 trillion plus a lot more. What I find interesting about the Sanders part of this is, you know, Sanders. Do we have the clip of Sanders bashing Howard Schultz?
Yes.
Let's watch that for a second, because I think it's something incredibly telling about today's Democratic Party.
Howard Schultz has now said he would not run as an independent if the Democrats nominate a moderate.
Oh, isn't that nice? Why is Howard Schultz on every television station in this country? Why are you quoting Howard Schultz? Because he's a billionaire, all right? There are a lot of people I know personally who work hard for a living, who make $40,000, $50,000 a year, who know a lot more about politics than, in all due respect, does Mr. Schultz. But because we have a corrupt political system, anybody who is a billionaire who can throw a lot of TV ads on television suddenly becomes very, very credible. So what Mr. Schultz, what is he, blackmailing the Democratic Party? If you don't nominate Bernie Sanders, he's not going to run? Well, I don't think we should succumb to that kind of blackmail.
This guy's insane.
Yeah, he is insane. I don't think Howard Schultz has spent money on any ads, by the way.
No, but he is saying that he's a billionaire, but that's not why. It's not the cash.
No, it's the fact that he built a gigantic company and he's a smart businessman. What I find interesting there, though, is first of all, Bernie Sanders is bashing Howard Schultz for being an independent, which Bernie Sanders is, right? Like Bernie Sanders is out of the Democratic Party, but it gives you a great picture of what the Democratic Party is and what it's become. Bernie Sanders has always been an independent, largely because he's too far left for the Democrats. He's an admitted socialist, and that used to be something really bad, to the point of, like, he wanted to take a stand and say, I'm not with the Democrats. After he lost the election last time, he went right back from a Democrat back to an independent. He's a 77-year-old man. He's lived through a long stretch of the Democratic Party, and he's always been too far left for the Democrats, so he runs as an independent. Now, he's smack dab in the middle of what the Democrats are. He fits perfectly with the Democrats. But a lifelong Democrat who has just a tad bit of love for capitalism, Howard Schultz, now he's the one who doesn't fit, and now he has to run as an independent. Think of how crazy that is. Howard Schultz is liberal on every single issue, with the exception of, I shouldn't be able to steal all of your stuff. Like, that's about it. And he can't even fit in the party. He's an independent. Now the party has gone from here, where Schultz was in the middle of the party. I mean, Schultz is essentially an Obama Democrat, right? Yeah. And now it's shifted so far that the Obama Democrats don't even fit in the party. And I don't even think Bernie Sanders is on the left side of the Democratic Party anymore. He's kind of in the middle.
I agree with you. I was talking to the economic research people before we went on the show, and I said, I didn't think it was possible for me to look at Obama and say, the good old days.
Yeah.
I mean, Obama is not as radical. Now, I believe Obama really was this radical. He just hid it. But if you take him at what he said and what he did, he's nothing like the New Democrats.
Which is an interesting thing for me. When I go back to New York and I'm visiting my friends up there, most of whom are progressive Democrats, like without any hyperbole, I can go, look, I'm on Team Capitalism along with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. Like now, their actual intentions, we don't know, but their op-eds that they're writing in The Economist, things like that. Like Barack Obama actually did write a really good op-ed about the market economy is the driver of prosperity in America and the world and all this. And I'm like, yep, we're team capitalism over here with your idol. And then like the new encroaching left that's actually bringing back socialism.
And what do your friends say up there?
I think that there's just kind of a swath of cognitive dissonance when I bring that up because I'm not supposed to be on Barack Obama's team. It doesn't make any sense. And if you're trying to cut that division, which I think is the new dividing line, incidentally, because I think we are going to look at Barack Obama as a centrist candidate, and I don't say that with any great love, but I think we will look at him that way. And right now we're starting to see this kind of remolding of boundaries of like, are you pro-market or anti-market?
I think you described, too, the potential difficulty for Joe Biden winning this nomination. I mean, if he decides to run, he's going to be seen probably as Obama or a little right of Obama.
Yeah. Well, listen what Hillary Clinton said, remember? Yeah. She said she lost it. A lot of it had to do with she came out for capitalism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, like I never felt that was heartfelt by any of them, but they did occasionally pay lip service to it. That's dead. I mean, this bill kills any lip service you can pay to capitalism. I don't see how you can defend the market at all.
I don't know how we don't, honestly, and I mean this sincerely, I don't know how you don't impeach everyone who would vote for a bill like that. That is, you're breaking your oath. You're breaking your oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. This takes the government and puts it in charge of everything. Our Constitution tells the government you're not in charge of anything except for this, this, and this. And you're not in charge of anything else. You destroy it.
All right, now that we've gotten all the doom and gloom out of the way, we're going to, when we come back, get to Andrew's silver lining of Bernie Sanders running. Back in a minute.
Socialism.
Before we get back into the conversation, we want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. I know that Glenn has had great success taking Relief Factor. I have as well. But it's for people who just live every day in pain.
That's 67% of people have pain on a daily basis and do nothing about it.
And,
it's huge.
And a third of the country has been living in pain since high school. They have a high school injury. 30% of this country. and they just live with it the rest of their lives. You don't have to, and you don't have to get all doped up. And this is something that works. You don't know you're even taking it. It's good for you. All it does is reduce the inflammation in your body. It works for about 70% of the people. They say straight up, it's not going to work for 30%. And that's why they give you a special break on the 3 weeks instead of 4 weeks, because they know in 3 weeks your body is going to tell you this works, this doesn't work. So at the end of 3 weeks, after you spent $20, you try it for 3 weeks. If it works, order more. And I've been taking it for a year now, and it makes a huge difference. If it doesn't, you're out $20. But the chance is good that you're going to be out of pain and you get your life back.
Yeah. Go to relieffactor.com, or you can call 800-500-8384 and get that quick start pack. All right, Andrew, give us the silver lining.
There is silver lining.
Puppies, rainbow.
We were actually, over the break, we were talking about how I'm perennially frustrated that socialism is won back. I kind of, I'm not for McCarthyism, but if we were going to pick something, that's probably what we should have gone after. It bothers me that socialism is back and full blown. It bothers me that so many people don't know what socialism means. Socialism means the government owns the means of production. That's it. It doesn't mean sharing. That said, though, as much as I am rankled by Bernie Sanders for bringing those terms back and making them popular, there is something that I like about him that I think is healthier than what's happening in the Democratic Party. So to illustrate this, I'm going to show a flashpoint that was, I think, pivotal in the last election. We'll show this, and you'll get an idea of where I'm going, maybe.
Thank you, Seattle, for being one of the most progressive cities in the United States of America.
Okay, now we can see protesters coming up.
Okay. Well, ask him.
So as much as I find that clip hilarious and I wanted to do it, I wanted to bring it up for a reason, and that is that there's two kind of predominant worldviews, I think, within the Democratic Party, or at least two of multiple worldviews within the Democratic Party. There's the older view that was dominant in the 60s when Bernie Sanders, for example, was getting kicked out of a commune because he wanted to talk about socialism more than actually do it, that predominated, which was we live in a class-based world, right? The other view, which is far more common right now, is we live in a race-based world. And that's one of the reasons that Bernie Sanders didn't do as well in a lot of categories. He did poorly with minority voters because from his perspective, the problem was rich people, and this is all class-based, as opposed to the identity politics and the intersectionality that are more and more gripping the Democratic Party. So I look at that. I would honestly rather have the conversation about class than I would about constant race, because I think it's a terrible idea to constantly tell people to stay in their demographic box and think of themselves as a demographic representative rather than as an individual or an ideologue. And so Sanders is at least not a part of that. I think that's part of the reason he didn't take it last time. And I like that he's at least keeping it off of something other than race identity politics. That is an Indiana Jones archaeology expedition to find a good point, to find a positive out of Bernie Sanders. That was amazing.
You were about to get hit by the giant rock.
So your point is that it's positive because he's not doing the race thing; he's doing the class warfare thing.
That's really what it's the scene. You're covered in spider webs, and it's like, hello, doctor. Hello, Mr. Jones.
I'm more worried, as much as I think the one thing I've been incredibly consistent out of this program is I'm not a fan of socialism. I am an unabashed, unapologetic, unreconstituted capitalist. So I do not welcome the forthcoming class war. However, I am more worried about identity politics than I am about class warfare, because I think identity politics really does tap something tribal, and it can and might very well lead us in a very fractious and problematic area. So
but class warfare, I mean, kind of goes hand in hand with identity politics, right? That is a form of identity politics.
I think the deeper view that both of them are coming out of is a world in which there are oppressors and victims, and that is something that permeates both Bernie Sanders and sort of the old pinko left, the socialist left, versus the new intersectional left.
So I think you're right about that. But all the same, though, at least with the class-based stuff, it's not just you're important because of the demographic that you're a representative of. And also think of yourself that way. Also, you're a white male. Think of yourself as a white male. Think of yourself as a white male, which I think is also, a very bad idea to start creating groups of people based on race and politics. I don't want that at all.
The balkanization of America.
Yeah.
All right, back in a minute.
Tribute
I never
from
even. Stu, talking about how radical the Democrats have become and, the upcoming presidential race. Can you give us a rundown of what we're looking at here?
Yeah, one of the things we're working on for the election coverage is a model of the Democratic primary, so you can kind of get a power ranking of who's doing well and who's not as we go. We're still building it out and kind of fine-tuning. Right now there's about 26 categories that we measure to kind of encapsulate a final score. And it kind of gives you a score of where they are. If you kind of look at the list here, we have Kamala Harris in first place right now. These are only announced candidates. Sanders is in second, very close though. And then you see you kind of drop off to the next tier of Booker, Klobuchar, Warren, and maybe Castro. Next tier, Gillibrand, Gabbard, and Buttigieg, and then you kind of have the ones that nobody knows: Marianne Williamson, Andrew Yang, and John Delaney at 17.
Where would Schultz be if he was on this list?
I have not attempted that. I can do it. Although if you're saying that if he ran the Democratic primary,
or if he ran, where would he be competitive at all?
So the way the model, it's very tailored towards the Democratic audience. So, like for example, Donald Trump has obviously a pretty good chance of winning this election. He's going to be one of the major party candidates. But if you put him in there, he'd be behind all of these candidates because he does not fit the Democratic primary audience. So I would be interested. Probably Schultz, I would say probably middle of the pack, lower middle of the pack, if I had to guess where he would land on there, because he has a lot of resources, but he's not going to be connected to the ideological positions as much as some of the others.
All right. Well, thank you for terrifying us with that lovely chart.
You get scared by everything. It's not my fault.
We got something terrifying coming up.